Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne, and today I'm going to share with y'all a wonderful quick bread recipe. This is buttermilk chocolate chip bread, and we're going to be using some flour, sugar, eggs, butter, buttermilk, and some vanilla. So I'm using some unsalted butter, and we're going to be using 6 tablespoons of soft, unsalted butter. Next to making cookies from scratch, making a quick bread from scratch is a wonderful way to start to get familiar and comfortable with baking from scratch. I love using this recipe because it's a very simple, straightforward recipe, and also the bread doesn't come out too sweet. So far in our bowl, we've put our 6 tablespoons of soft unsalted butter, and then to that, I added a half a cup of granulated sugar, plus I also added 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Now we want to get our butter and our sugar whipped together, and while our butter and sugar are whipping together, we're going to be adding in 3 large eggs, and I have my eggs at room temperature. Room temperature eggs are going to blend so much better into your doughs and into your batter versus the cold eggs coming straight out of the refrigerator. Now the buttermilk does not have to be room temperature. Our buttermilk can be cold out of the refrigerator, that's fine. But with the eggs just whip up better in the recipe if they're at that room temperature. Now when it comes to the eggs, I like to just kind of put my eggs in one at a time, not all together, just to kind of give each egg a chance to just whip in there with the butter and the sugar. If you are new to my channel, welcome in, and if you're a returner, welcome back. And on my channel, I like to share what I cook and bake for my family in my kitchen. If you have subscribed to my channel, I thank you and I truly appreciate it. And for those who have not subscribed yet, I hope you enjoy the content and consider subscribing. So next what we're going to do is we're going to put in some vanilla. I'm using pure vanilla extract, and we're going to be putting in 1.5 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Now in the description box below, under the title where it says more, if you click on that, the description box will open up and I'll have a list of ingredients that you need to make this wonderful buttermilk chocolate chip bread. Now like I was mentioning before about it being a quick bread, like banana bread, I have a few quick bread recipes on my channel. I'll put the links to those vlogs at the end of this video. One that my family absolutely loves is my chocolate banana bread. It is so good, and anytime I make that chocolate banana bread, I have to make 2 y'all because they just love it. So I will have the link to that. Now next we're going to put our flour. I'm using unbleached all-purpose flour, and you see what I'm doing with the flour, how I just kind of shake it and aerate it a little bit. You want to do that so that way your flour is not become compacted into your measuring cup. You can also use a spoon and lightly spoon in the flour into your measuring cup. That's another way that you can also do it. Next, we're going to put in some regular table salt, and we're going to be putting in 1/4 teaspoon of regular table salt. Next, we're going to use our leavening, and we're going to be using some baking soda and baking powder, and I'm going to be putting in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And with quick breads, you don't use yeast, so we don't have to wait for anything to rise because we're not using yeast. But with quick breads, you're usually using a leavening such as either baking soda or baking powder, or sometimes you'll use both. Now once I have 2 cups, it was 2 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour. Once I have that in my bowl, I go ahead and I use my whisk and I whisk around the baking soda, the baking powder, the salt, and the flour to make sure that they're well combined. Now next we're going to use some buttermilk, and we're going to be putting in 1 cup of buttermilk. With your buttermilk, be sure to shake your buttermilk. You want to make sure you shake your buttermilk really good before you go on and pour it and add it to your recipe. Now if you don't have any buttermilk on hand, but if you have whole milk, what you want to do is for 1 cup of buttermilk to go on and substitute, you can use 1 cup of whole milk and put in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice or either 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Let that sit together. You mix it, sit it together in the refrigerator for about 10 to 15 minutes. It'll curdle a bit, and then you've just made yourself some homemade buttermilk, and you can use that in a pinch when you don't have buttermilk on hand. In the description box below, I will add that quick recipe for homemade buttermilk, and that's something that my mom taught me, to make homemade buttermilk real quick. So to the mixing bowl, I added in half of our dry ingredients. So I added in half of the dry ingredients, and I let it mix just until it was combined. Then I added in half of our buttermilk. I let that mix for just a little bit, and then I want to make sure that I don't have any ingredients that have gathered at the bottom of my mixing bowl. So I just stop it for a minute just to kind of make sure that you kind of scrape down the sides is what you want to do. Then we add the balance of our dry ingredients. Let that mix for a minute just until it's combined. And then once it's combined, then we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the buttermilk as well. Now once I add in the last of the buttermilk, what I'm going to do is once it's kind of just combined with the buttermilk, I'm going to stop my mixer because I don't want to over mix my batter. And I'm going to use my spatula just to finish that last little bit of making sure that all the ingredients are mixed in together. And you see what I'm doing? I don't do like a hard mix. I just flip my spatula. I just go around from the bottom and I just make sure that everything is in there combined well. And I just flip my spatula is what you want to do. Now next we're going to put in some semi-sweet chocolate chips. And we're going to be using 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I'm going to put 3/4 of a cup inside the batter. And then we're going to reserve 1/4 cup to put on top of the batter, okay? So with the chocolate chips, what I like to do is I just put a little bit of flour. We don't want to put the excess flour into the batter. We just want a little bit of flour, and just like I'm doing there, we just want a little bit of flour on the chocolate chips, just so that way that flour on the chocolate chips is going to help the chocolate chips to cling to the batter and not all fall to the bottom in our pan. And when I'm putting in the chocolate chips, you just want the chocolate chips, but you don't want that excess flour. And when I add the chocolate chips, I just go ahead and fold the chocolate chips into the batter, and that's what our batter looks like. Now we're going to use our 9x5 loaf pan. I've went on and I sprayed it with my non-stick spray. And if you don't have any non-stick spray on hand, what you could do is just butter your pan and then go ahead and dust it with flour. And so you want to butter it and dust it with flour so that way your loaf won't stick to your pan. We want to make sure that we evenly spread our batter throughout our pan. Now while I'm doing this, I do have my oven preheating on 350 degrees, and our loaf is going to bake anywhere from about 45 minutes up to an hour. So anywhere from 45 minutes to 60 minutes, but you want to be mindful that you don't want to over bake your bread because it can dry it out. And so then I went on and I used the other 1/4 of a cup of my semi-sweet chocolate chips. These are not dusted with flour, they're just straight out of the bag. So we're going to go ahead and just sprinkle them all over the top, just like I did there. I'm going to slightly jiggle my pan to make sure my batter is nice and even. We're going to go ahead and put in the oven. So our bread is done baking, and it was in the oven for 60 minutes. It is a beautiful golden brown on top. I'm going to let this cool for a minute. Then we're going to go ahead and loosen it up from the sides and take it out of the pan. So our loaf has been cooling. I use my butter knife and I go around the edge to go ahead and loosen it up a bit. And then something that I like to do, once I've gone around the edge a couple times and I've loosened it up, then I just kind of shake it a little bit in the pan just to make sure that it's going to release really well from the bottom. And you just want to be really gentle and just kind of jiggle it. I flip it and oh, look how it came out, y'all. I'm going to let it cool for just a couple of minutes and then we're going to slice it and give it a try. So it has been cooling for just a few more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and slice into it. Wow. Will you look at that? And we baked this from scratch, y'all. I'm going to get your bite ready. This first bite right here, this one's for you. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did today. This bread is so good. It has a nice texture. It is dense but moist. It is just the perfect buttermilk chocolate chip bread. I hope you give this recipe a try. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's free. If you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up and click share and share this video with a friend or family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.